Hi, thank you for watching our BLV product information video. My name is Grant, and today we'll be discussing the BLV Brushless Motor and Driver System Series, specifically the introduction and the features. We have a demonstration unit with us for visual purposes. We're looking at the BLV series. Again, this is a brushless DC motor system. Normally it would be purchased with both a motor and a drive. It comes in a 200 watt and a 400 watt or half horsepower model. The 200 watt is available in 24 volt DC up to 25 amps, and the 400 watt version is 48 volt DC input with a requirement of up to 18 amps. Now we do have versions with an electromagnetic brake. These units are available in a round shaft type like shown here, and we also have parallel shaft gearheads as well as hollow shaft type gearheads. Now the base speed for the unit is 100 to 4,000 RPM. However, if you do use the OPX 2A or control it via RS485 Modbus RTU, you can set the speeds digitally. And when setting the speeds digitally, we can go down to a speed of 80 RPM. Now note the speed regulation change as well. Normally it's plus or minus 0.5%. When set digitally, we can get down to plus or minus 0.2%. Like I had mentioned, it is capable of setting multiple speeds, up to 8 different speeds, accelerations, and torque settings. There's also an included speed response setting, which would give a slower or faster response based on load inertia. We have torque control or torque limiting, 0 to 100%, and it has a general accuracy of plus or minus 20%. Like we had mentioned, you can control it via I/O, like shown here. We can also control it via OPX2 digital operator, which you can set up the digital speeds and then go ahead and control it I/O. Or you have the option to control it again via RS485 through Modbus RTU protocol. Also want to point out the compact size of this type of motor. Shown here is a 200 watt type motor, and that's going to be also demonstrated in the drawing before you. One thing to note when comparing the brushless DC motor to a traditional induction motor, AC motor, we can see that the 200 watt is nearly half the size when looking at the brushless DC compared to the 200 watt AC motor. We also want to point out again that we do have magnetic brake options, both in the 200 and the 400 watt. One thing to note, it is suggested never to use the unit for a vertical lifting type application unless you are using a battery power input. The BLV is capable of running off battery power. Other battery features, it can operate on some level even when the battery is discharged up to 58%. It does have a warning output to indicate when the input voltage is dropped, it decreased 10% from the rated input voltage. And operation will resume immediately once the battery power is recovered. Some suitable BLV applications. The BLV has been used on any type of application that requires battery input. Anything that is required with the motor to operate even when the battery power is low. Applications that are sold in many countries, since DC power is pretty much universal. Any type of application where you need 485 control or communications control. And also applications that require position holding with an electromagnetic brake. Now the BLV has been used on AGV applications and also with mobile vehicle applications. So the BLV, we can set multiple speed settings using either the Modbus RTU or the OPX 2A. Not only can we set the 8 different speed settings, we can also control the torque on those different settings, as well as the acceleration or deacceleration. One thing to note, there are also two onboard potentiometers that are both assignable to either the speed or acceleration. It also is capable of running off of an external pot or external DC voltage control. With torque limiting, the motor can run continuously when it's set at a torque level of 100% or less. So literally the unit will control the output torque for applications such as winding and unwinding. And that control is found via an onboard potentiometer on the top of the drive, or you can set that setting digitally using the OPX or 485. There's also an onboard dip switch for speed response. For applications that have higher inertia or lower inertia, depending on how fast you want them to respond, that setting is available. The high response would be the solid line versus the lower response, which would take an additional amount of time. Now, again, the three different control methods. Ideally, you run this using I/O control. Then you can also program those extended functions such as the digital speed settings and then control through the I/O. You can set those settings through RS-485 Modbus RTU, and you can also directly control each individual axis through Modbus RTU. We also have a hollow shaft flat gear available. The advantage of this type of gear is that it does save space compared to the indirect coupling we see here. And also, one of the other main benefits is the no torque saturation. We can see with the parallel shaft, as we reach the higher gear ratios, we get the plateau effect where the gearhead, even at the higher ratios, will not output any more torque, which is not the case with the hollow shaft flat gearhead. So the BLV series is broken down into this part number structure. Obviously, we're dealing with the BLV. It only comes in the 104 or 110 millimeter frame size. We either have a 20 watt or a 200 watt or a 400 watt available, and that's going to be noted by either the 20 or the 40. The 200 watt is only available in 24 volt DC input, and the 400 watt is available in only 48 volt DC. So do note the difference when selecting. When using a 400 watt motor, it's only available in 48 volt, which is indicated by either the K or the N. You would insert an M if you're choosing the magnetic brake type, and you would insert an A for the round shaft type. If looking at a geared motor, you would use the S for the parallel shaft and the F for the flat hollow shaft. Before you would insert that, you would insert the gear ratio. We have anywhere from 5 to 200 for the parallel, and 5 all the way up to 100 for the flat gear. And then also it is included with a 1, 2, or 3 meter extension cable, which you would indicate it in the 1, 2, or 3. This is a breakdown of all the different models we have available, and we have the 200 and 400 watt and a round shaft, or any combination of parallel or hollow shaft type. We also have the same options available in magnetic brake. Taking a look at the general specifications, we can see for the 200 watt, we have a rated torque of 92 ounce-inches on the motor and up to 163 ounce-inches of starting torque, which is available for up to 5 seconds. We see we go from all the way up to 184 ounce-inches of output torque on the 400 watt, and then 250 ounce-inches of starting torque on the for the starting torque. The rated speed is 3,000 RPM for both of these motors, with a speed range again of 100 to 4,000 RPM. Here is a look at the torque speed curves for both options. We can see from the 3,000 to the 4,000 RPM range, we do see a decrease in rated torque. That's simply due to the design of the DC motor in general. We do limit both the current and the torque for mechanical reasons. And that is for the output torque of the gearhead as well as the physical size. So taking a look at the performance specifications, these are all the different gearhead options we have available for the parallel shaft type. And one thing to note, both the 200 and 400 watt, when we reach the 200 to 1 gear ratio, will no longer output any more torque than 610 pound-inches, which is the maximum permissible torque of that parallel shaft type gearhead. When looking at the flat hollow shaft gear, we can see that even when we reach the 200 to 1 ratio with the 400 watt, it still outputs more torque at 970 pound-inches. So again, we do not see that plateau effect. The unit is able to dedicate I/O, and they're user programmable up to 5 different inputs, and we have 2 programmable outputs. For more information on this, please view the product demonstration and features video. If you do have any further questions, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-GO-VEXTA or visit us at www.orientalmotor.com. My name is Grant, and thank you for watching.